Welcome. I'm Joe Outlaw. Welcome to another episode of Farm Policy Minute. This week, I want to talk to you a little bit about marketing your average prices. We've had some really significant price declines, especially in the futures market lately, and I've had a number of calls and emails saying, "Hey, what's this going to do to the payments I get at the end of the year?" So I wanted to kind of go through a reminder of how marketing your average prices are calculated and what that really means for you. So I'm going to direct you to our website. If you look a little bit above the picture, there's a little line that says the Excel file for the marketing your average prices for grains can be found here. Actually, for grains and cotton can be found here. So if you click on that, you're going to have the ability to open up a Excel spreadsheet that we keep all that in for you. But before I get there, I want to mention that this is USDA does a really nice job of putting out estimates of where they think the marketing your average prices are going to be for the year. And if you look at all this stuff, it looks kind of confusing, but the far right column is the projection for this year. The 2019 harvest, it's 1920, which means harvested 19, marketed into 20. The very far right column is the current estimate. So just as an example, it says 360 corn as of April 9th of 2020. How would we get to 360 corn when the futures right now is somewhere in the 330s? Well, again, we want to decompose this and talk to you a little bit more about how this is done. You can see at the bottom of this slide, there's the website where I get this from is it's a USDA website. They update it every month. But let's get to the spreadsheet. So once you've clicked on our website, open that link, the spreadsheet opens up, and it looks just like this, which I'm going to kind of go through all the elements of it, then I'm going to go through the particulars. One of the things that I want you to note first is at the bottom, you can see we have various tabs. So these are how the marketing your average prices over the last, say, 4 years plus the current year. The history is there. It says what happened, what were the marketing your average prices on a monthly basis. How do those monthly weights matter? So let's just jump to the very. I'm gonna do corn, since a lot of people can think corn real easily. The marketing year for corn starts September, and it goes through August of this current year. So September 19th to August 20th is the marketing average price. The light blue on this slide are the weights, and for the historical years that are listed at the tabs at the bottom of this, you can go click on that and you can see the marketing your average weights for each month. So what does that mean? That means what percentage of the national crop was marketed in that year. So September 19th for corn, September of 19 for corn was 7.2. So 7.2% of the crop was marketed during the first month of the marketing year. For the last 4 years, what we've done is we averaged that. So we don't know how it's going to play out this year, but I can tell you, if you look at these weights, and the weights here are the last, as it says in the little box down at the bottom, the weights that we've used here are calculated by looking at the previous 4 years and doing a weighted average on the weights. As you go through time, the weights may be a little bit different, but it's very instructive, and if you look, they're really close to the history. But most of the crop gets marketed before, say, February. How do I know that? If you were to go across from the 7.2, then add the 11.65 and 12.22 and 8.7 and 12.5, you're going to get somewhere really close to half the crop or more. And that's what happens. Most of the crop is marketed, regardless of commodity, before roughly halfway through the year. So to kind of get to an early main point I want you to get is that these current low prices that are in effect, and that's where you're going to look at. So if you look at the gray of any of the prices, those are the actual monthly prices. And then if you look at the yellow, that's where the marketing year hasn't finished yet, so we're having to put in projections. What you're going to notice about this data is it trails about 2 months. So the latest data we have for actual prices for corn is $3.78 for February. And since that time, it's really taken a dive. So it's going to be lower, but we don't know exactly how low. And so you can see there in yellow, I put in 335 because that's roughly where futures are right now for the rest of the time. And I did that by coming over here to this yellow column and typing in 335, and it'll populate. Anytime you're using this spreadsheet, you open it up at different times of the year, there's going to be more yellow and less gray, or more gray and less yellow, depending on where we are in the marketing year. But with 6 months left to be reported, most of the crop has been marketed. Not most, but more than half of the crop has been marketed, and it would take, if you paid any attention to the 360 marketing year average price that was on USDA's recent projection I just showed you, over here in the far right column, to get the 360, you'd have to have a 335. So anyone saying that the market year average price is going to be much lower than 360 it's not going to happen unless prices fall into the 2 range here at the end of the marketing year. So one of the reasons why we put these in different rows is that you can tell that the rice and peanuts and cotton have an August to July marketing year. Japonica rice, basically medium grain rice from California, has an October to September marketing year. Corn, grain, sorghum, soybeans, and sunflowers have a September to August marketing year. And with regard to barley, oats, wheat, they have a June to May marketing year. So you see that wheat is almost finished. If you look at the marketing average price that we have calculated for wheat, we have basically, it's going to be 460 according to USDA, right here on the bottom right corner, 460. And to get to 460, I tinkered with it a little bit and put in different prices over here in the yellow column where you can enter prices. To get to 460, it has to average 480 the rest of the year. So they're actually, it's right on. Futures is trading around that area. Most of the crop is already marketed anyway. How do I know that? Well, if you look at the yellow on wheat down at the bottom, and the 480 prices I have that I put in, if you look at above that, the weights, only 5% in May, 4.4% in June, and 4.3, rounded 4.4%, is marketed in July. Historically, again, those weights aren't magic. This is what the weights have been over the last 4 years. If you were to go back and open up a different tab by clicking on one of these other ones, those are the actual weights that happened. So we went back and trued up, and this provides the best guess at where things are going to be. So when someone tells you that futures is trading at some abnormally low number for corn or soybeans, you got to remember that the marketing year average price, which is the one that's used in the calculations for ARC and PLC, those prices are going to be determined at the end of the marketing year. That's why we get paid so late. The marketing year has to happen, and then you get paid after October 1st, which is into the next fiscal year for USDA. So that's why everyone says, why does it take so long for me to get paid? I harvest the crop in the summer, late summer of 19. Why can't I get paid? Well, we're using a marketing year average price to determine whether you should get benefits or not, and those benefits are tied to this, which we have to have the marketing year play out. There have been proposals in the past about, can we do something a little different, and we can talk about that at some other point if I get enough questions about it. But for now, just recall, as you're going through this, the marketing year average price, every crop has its own marketing year, and depending on where we are in the marketing year, there may be a lot of time left to make a lot of changes, and it could really drastically change the year-end price. Or, as in the case of wheat and barley and oats here in this chart, there really isn't much time left. The price has roughly been set, and this is what you're going to get paid on. So take it to the next level. What if the wheat price of 460 turns out to be the price? If you had selected PLC, which is the easiest, cleanest, because it pays on the difference between 550 and the marketing year average price, that would be roughly a 90-cent per bushel payment for the 19 crop on wheat if you had chosen PLC, if this works out the way it's going to work out, which, like I said, it's going to be really close to that happening. If there are more questions about how these prices are determined, just send me emails, and I'll try to go through it more. Specifically on cotton, we added to the spreadsheet recently. Obviously, seed cotton is what gets paid in the United States right now. We have cotton lint. Cotton lint is a big driver of the price, but also the price of seed is in there as well to determine an overall seed cotton price. So if you're wanting to use this spreadsheet to tell where the cotton prices are going, this is where the lint's going. When you open that spreadsheet, you're going to see that we have more in there for seed cotton, but it's a little bit more complicated. I didn't want to go through that today. I can go through that in a future episode. Until next time, thanks and good luck.